It's the Scott Horton Show flavored coffee breakfast blend. It's part Ethiopian, part Sumatra. It's really good. All you do is go to scotthorton.org/coffee and it'll forward you on there to Moondo's Artisan Coffees. Get it? They hate Starbucks because they represent the war party, of course. And so they're Moondo's and they support peace. And guess what? Scott Horton Show coffee is the #1 best-selling coffee at Moondo's Artisan Coffees right now. Just go again to scotthorton.org/coffee. So, when you talk about all the special interests in Washington behind the empire and its wars, I mean, obviously the biggest dog of them all, bigger than the arms manufacturers or maybe even bigger than the Pentagon, it's the goddamned Israelis. They have so much influence in Washington, D.C., and it looks like they're about to drag us into another war. Supreme Allied Commander Netanyahu came to Washington and ordered a second carrier to the Persian Gulf, or, well, to the Eastern Med, at least, to back up this war. What is it? How is that even possible that our priorities are so out of balance that Israel can have that much influence in Washington, especially comparatively to the American people, who apparently our will is near meaningless?
I think the American people have become like Stockholm syndrome. We started talking about Kennedy a little bit. Back in that day, 9 out of 10 people believed the government. When the government said, lone gunman Lee Harvey Oswald, he did this, don't look over there and don't look over here because we got the case all wrapped up. And they believed it. And now we've been through Kennedy's assassination, the Vietnam War, the war lies about Vietnam. We've been through the missing weapons of mass destruction, COVID, one lie after another, all these regime change operations all over the world that never turned out the way we were promised. And so the American people now, at least in my experience, don't believe a word the government says for the most part. The majority don't believe it, but they roll their eyes and they kind of think, well, it's business as usual. They're like Stockholm syndrome captors. They bought in with their captors. We know they're lying to us, but we've made our peace with it. We live with it. And so, they don't dare look too close. Be an ugly confrontation with reality. Down the memory hole has gone the account of Netanyahu when he said, well, if you invade Iraq, if you stop the weapons of mass destruction, if you invade Iraq, I promise you it will be entirely transformational of the Middle East. You won't believe the beneficial effects that it will have. I mean, those incidents are forgotten, and the lapdog press, the corporate press, doesn't remind people. So when he comes out spouting these same things and he makes himself at home in the Oval Office and stuff, people don't remember. And you can't correct your trajectory as a nation unless you remember where you've been, the lies you've been told, and the mistakes you've made. And so it's imperative for people to learn this stuff.
Yeah, man. All right, so check this out, guys. Just as Charles and I were going on today, I got this in my email. It's from I'm going to say her name wrong. Let me see if I can say Veronica Kirilenko, and she is from the New American Magazine, the John Birch Society's magazine. And here they have a great review of Charles' book, Empire of Lies: What Becomes of a Nation That Learns to Live on Fiction.
Oh, well,
and I haven't even had a chance to read it yet because I got this right when we were going on today. But so this, give her credit for this great, and thanks for this great review, and recommend that to everyone so that you can all be even more motivated to go out and get Charles's great book. It's really so good, and I really am jealous of your talent, but I mean, not to a destructive degree, only in a nice way. But can we talk about the new Red Scare, the deep state in action? Your chapter 3 here. Remind me, is this Russiagate?
Not so much Russiagate.
No, it's part of it. I just passed it. I know Russiagate's one of the things in there.
Yeah, but it's basically about how close they bring us to the edge of nuclear war. And the American people, I believe, had a pretty good idea in '62 about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Even the anchors on TV were kind of worried. They had beads of sweat on their temples and stuff when they reported on it, because it was really, it was on the brink. But this time, it's pretty much been hidden from the American people. And the New York Times, when they do report something, it's always, too late after it doesn't matter anymore. But last March, this time last year, they did a long story called The Partnership. And they went into detail. They interviewed 300 people over a course of months. And they actually told for the first time in the mainstream press anyway, just how close we came. And they concluded the Americans operating the Ukraine war on behalf of Kiev and Zelensky were running it from an operations center in Germany. And it got to the point that as the nuclear doctrines of the Russians were being escalated, and the bravado of NATO and the White House and stuff were growing day by day by day, the thing came so close. Finally, even the New York Times said we got to the point where we had Americans directing the killing of Russian soldiers on Russian territory, and you have no idea how imperiled the world became with that event. And it is true. So that's, I call that the second Cold War. Not saying that it's over yet, because you probably got a better idea than I do, but that it continues today. I'm trying to understand, what the Trump initiative really consists of, and doesn't seem to be any there. So, but anyway, that's the second Cold War. But I want to say about the deep state and marching us to the edge of peril like this. It's easy to think that the deep state is lodged in people like Allen Dulles, who, overthrew, Iran was a good one, he's in 1953, but in Central America too. This guy was toppling governments all over the world, tried to take down de Gaulle in France, and while Kennedy was president. But, when they finally got Kennedy, it all of a sudden was like it opened the gate. The deep state, the CIA, wasn't just relegated to foreign interventions. Now they had a foot in the door in the United States, and they could run the way they wanted. But people that are beginning to get sensitive about this, they think, well, it's Allen Dulles, it's guys like Brennan and Clapper that have lied to us, lied to Congress. These are the deep state guys. And there's Victoria Nuland that fomented the war in Ukraine and toppled the government there with $5 billion of your tax money. But it even goes beyond that.